Hey everybody, I got a video here for you today. Now, I was looking over some posts earlier today, and Phil Harris posted this one about the Egyptian goddess Nut and the Milky Way galaxy, and I'll leave the link below for the person who originally shared that post. But it got me thinking about a video I was going to do about a year ago, and I did some reading today, and I just thought I would talk about this. And this is a very well-written paper by Amanda Alice Meraviglia, and I'll leave this link below. And it says this about the Egyptian goddess Nut. It says, Nut was considered the sky goddess par excellence in ancient Egypt. Unlike other Mediterranean civilization, the sky was conceived as a female divinity by the Nile dwellers. She was thought of as an amniotic cocoon inside which the pharaohs would regain life and immortality in the hereafter. Hence, being perceived as the universal mother archetype, she would bestow rebirth in the afterlife to the dead kings who were considered her children. In her virtual identification with her sarcophagus, Nut was considered a nurse and a nursery, and was depicted inside sarcophagi and coffins alike, stretching her body protectively over the corpse of the deceased. Joining with her would mean return to the womb of eternal space, time continuum, and passing victoriously through immortality. The mural and ceiling paintings of the sky goddess Nut in some of the royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings are renowned for their chromatic forms, mainly blue for the sky, gold and yellow for the stars, and red for the solar disk, as well as for their religiously aesthetic conceptions of cosmogony, theogony, and their artistic liturgical expression. In this paper, we discuss the relation between cosmic space and archetypal time as those were viewed under the prism of ancient Egypt mythological perceptions and were represented by the former depictions of Nut. The tombs of the pharaohs of Ramses IV and Ramses VI and Ramses IX are examined. The inherent symbolism together with the mythological background of these paintings are discussed in order to assess the relation between creation of sacred space and the imaginary in ancient Egypt. Both of them dwell on archetypal memories of the collective unconscious. Finally, a brief account is given of the probable identification of Nut with the galaxy or the Milky Way by the Egyptians. So I just thought that was very well written, and I will leave the link if anyone wants to read this paper. It's fairly lengthy, and I'm not even going to attempt to read it all. It's hard enough just reading the introduction. But now I will go on and read a couple other things. And I just wanted to show you a few images, some art images coming from tombs and sarcophagi from Egypt. And this is the goddess Nut stretched across the whole scene here. And the dot represents the sun's journey through her body. She represented the sky, which held the sun and the stars and the moon. And at sunset, she would swallow the sun and give birth to it again the next day. And this is clearly what is depicted here. Here is another image of Nut, and here we see the solar boat of Ra making its journey across her to the afterlife. And a lot of ancient alien theorists say that these tombs, where we have these boats going from star to stars, represents, aliens coming from or going to different planets, and that's not what this represents at all. This is all about the soul's journey, the God's journey to the afterlife in Orion. And here is another depiction of the gods here with the goddess Nut stretched over the whole scene here, and here the red solar disk making its journey across Nut's body. This is experienceancientegypt.com, and it says this. Unlike many other ancient cultures, the ancient Egyptians fancied the earth as masculine in nature and the sky as feminine in nature, and they deified the sky as the Egyptian goddess Nut. To some people, the sky seemed like a vast ocean of infinite size covering the land from horizon to horizon, with the pillars at each corner keeping it up above the earth. The sun and other celestial bodies would sail across this blue sea on barks to flow through the underground waterways to the west to appear once again in the east. It says the vision of the gods as sailing through a sea-like heaven stuck with the ancient Egyptians, and solar barks became an integral part of their religions and rituals. And here is a cow, and Nut was depicted by some as a cow And that just makes sense. The Milky Way, cows. I mean, the ancient Egyptians were not that difficult to understand. It says, her eyes were the sun and the moon, and the milk from her udder made the Milky Way. The sun was born every morning to this cow as a calf journeying towards the west. And still to others, the sky was a beautiful woman arched over them, her face to the west. Her nude blue body held the celestial bodies, and her arms and legs were the four cardinal points. She was sprinkled with stars, and the sun and the moon would travel through her daily. Underneath her were the earth and its inhabitants, all under her protection. And clearly that is what's depicted here. It says, born as half a pair, locked with her brother and consort Geb, their embrace was so passionate that their own father Shu, the god of air, had to separate them. And thus heaven and earth were created, with Nut the sky arched above her adoring husband Geb, the earth. It says, Nut and Geb's eternal love affair was consummated every night when she would come down to earth for a few hours, causing darkness to fall. From their love, they spawned some of ancient Egypt's greatest and most powerful deities, as well as the sun, the moon, and the stars. And then a little later it says here, as the vastness through which the gods traveled daily on their barks, the Egyptian goddess Nut was thought of as their protector on their journeys. She is also where their son, the beloved Osiris, hid for days after his murder and resurrection. And she was also believed to be protector of the souls of the dead, awaiting at the edge of sunset to be taken on their boats through the underworld. She was prayed to from pharaohs and villagers alike to protect their souls. Some sarcophagi had her image inside the lids of their eyes so that the deceased may look upon the beautiful sky from within his tomb. When depicted as a woman, she would sometimes wear a headdress with a vase or a pot which carried water. As she stood beneath the sycamore tree, the Egyptian goddess Nut would pour water from her vase to purify the souls of the dead. And once again, I will leave that link below. And here, going back to this image, the solar boat or bark, what was this actually traveling on? Well, you have to go over to the Egyptian god Nu. Here, obviously representing water, it says in Egyptian mythology, Nu is the deification of the primordial watery abyss. And here is a depiction of Nu holding up the solar boat with the gods on it. And here is another image from a tomb. The anthropomorphic animal gods appear on the boat. And here is Nu holding up the boat. This is Khepri in the middle here. And I think I'll just read. It says, Nu is depicted with upraised arms holding the solar bark or boat. The boat is occupied by 8 deities, with the scarab deity Khepri standing in the middle, surrounded by 7 other deities. And I just find it very interesting that we have this depiction of these animal gods on the boats, and they are riding on the primordial watery abyss. And I think we have a tie-in to the story of Noah. And remember, this god's name is Nu, and Noah, that isn't too far off. But we have the animal gods on a boat, and we have a story from the Egyptian creation myth where the primordial mound breaks open and the sun appears in the form of a bird. And from the Noah story, I believe we have a bird finding the primordial mound when the sun comes out. I think writers of the Bible just took stories from Egypt and just twisted them a little and fit them into the Bible. And I think I've showed you many different examples of this coming from ancient Egypt and the Bible, and I will leave a playlist link below. Some of those videos I did, I kind of laugh at when I look back at them, but I think some of them are pretty much right on. But we have the story coming from ancient cultures, hints of it in text and in pictographs, that there was some sort of cosmic event that happened on Earth a long time ago, either a massive CME ejection or maybe the remnants of a supernova happening. And people have talked about this a lot more in recent years, and there's evidence of some catastrophic event happening on Earth and a great flood happening. That story comes from every ancient culture on Earth. And here we have the story of or we have depictions everywhere of the gods, the animal gods, riding on boats. And remember, the Great Pyramid was once covered by water. We have evidence at the base of it that was cleared away, that came from ancient flooding from the ocean or the sea in case of in the Mediterranean's case. But I just think we have a direct tie-in here. We have the story of the animal gods traveling on boats, and sometimes they're even depicted in pairs. We have here, there's a whole bunch of animals on this boat, but it seems to be a cosmic flood of some sort that happened a long time ago. And in the Egyptian creation myth, the primordial mound is broken open and the sun appears in the form of a bird. And of course, in the Noah story, I believe a bird finds a primordial mound when the sun comes out. I think this is where the Noah story comes from. Hope you followed along. Hope you thought this was interesting. You have a nice day.